really high variance, there's of course the whole discussion of, or at least currently high variance of digital currencies. And really, I wanted to ask you about the underlying technology, which is a distributed ledger system.
Yeah, so we do a lot in this space. We help different countries set up, nations set up things like that. We don't do anything with Bitcoin or Ethereum. I mean, one of the founders of Ethereum is part of my group. But other than that, we don't, I mean, it was incredibly interesting technology demonstrations. They've been niche investments that have been really, really interesting, high variances, wonderful from a science point of view.
Sure.
People say, what do you mean niche? There's $1 trillion. Well, economy in the world is pretty big, and there's a lot of people that got to hide their money and launder it. And okay, it's big.
Sure.
That doesn't convince me. What I see, though, is I see nation states are setting up their own platforms, like Ethereum-type platforms, and they won't want competition. And you see this in China already. China has a platform, and you can build on the Chinese national platform, but if you're doing Bitcoin, you're going to go to jail. Yep. That's what they say, okay? And you're going to see that everywhere in one form or another. Mm-hmm. Same thing is true with Ethereum if it like raises its head enough, that sort of thing. Yeah. So the opportunity is building things like distributed finance on the national chains.
Right.
A topic of interest is the trade-off between privacy and ownership and control. So Bitcoin is synonymous fully, right? And it's completely ungoverned in the sense that there isn't any sort of centralized up and down. I mean, there actually is, but it's not very strong. These national systems, of course, will be things that are more like, say, the Visa network. A number of companies, the government, et cetera, come together to validate things. Mm-hmm. And then you have central bank digital currencies, which are either make 1984 look like somebody wasn't being very imaginative. Right? Yeah. I mean, do you want the government to know every time you buy chewing gum?
Right.
Well, there we are. We're going to have a central bank digital currency. Yeah. Interestingly, the sensible way to do it is the way China did it. As far as I can tell, which is the central bank digital currency goes to commercial banks, and then the commercial banks have their own version of digital stuff, which is not a central bank digital currency. And that can be a distributed ledger. But the thing that goes to the commercial banks is different. So the government can, in China, look all the way down and see your chewing gum, but by default, they don't.
I see.
It's only when they think that you're chewing too much gum that they'll do that. And that's critical that you have a structure like that for two reasons. One is the privacy reason. But the other is do you know where money is created? Mm-hmm. Money is not created in the central bank. It's created in the commercial banks. When they make a loan, that's fake money.
Right.
That's leverage, right? Mm-hmm. Okay? And that is almost all the money creation. So you've got to let them continue to do that. Why do you have to let them do it? Because that's where you have the risk concentrated. Not all those loans are going to be good.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
So they try to give loans that will be good, but they fail sometimes. So a commercial bank is inherently somewhat risky. Okay? Yep. Whereas a central bank, you really don't want that to be risky.
Absolutely.
Okay? That would be really a bad idea.
Right.
And so having the central bank keep tabs on the commercial banks through a central bank digital currency, I don't see anything too wrong with that. Right? On the other hand, I do want someone to have risk-taking in the system so that we can promote innovation.
Right.
And traditionally, that's the commercial banks that have done it. In fact, I would go one step further, which is I think that one of the things that's wrong today is the banks are too big. And what that means is that small communities and local ventures have a very hard time getting funding, which is why venture capitalists demand so much of their return. Mm-hmm. If we could have a much more distributed system so that there were local banks, local co-ops, and things like that, we could have that risk capital available, probably at better rates, but more tuned to the community and supporting the community. So this is the second book, right?
Absolutely.
Building a New Economy is, look, we've had 30 years of centralization based on IT systems, ERP systems, Oracle, all that sort of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And as a consequence, all the local institutions, not just local banks, but local hospitals, local newspapers, right, all disappeared.
Yep.
Okay?
Absolutely.
And that means the communities are disempowered. They don't have the ability to know what's going on. They don't have the data. They don't have the ability to act. You have to go to this other city, to the big tower, and beg, could you please, give us some money, right? Yep. That's inherently not right. And so I would like to see decentralized systems that support local innovation and are controlled locally. Obviously, there have to be guardrails on the local innovation. But I think that would be a lot healthier than what we have today.